welcome everyone to our very first interview style webinar. I'm here with Dawn, Kat, and Adriano, and we are so excited to have him join us for this interview webinar. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we really would love everyone listening in to actively take part in it. So we have that questions panel. And if you have any questions for Dawn or Adriano or even Kat or myself as we go, you can type them into that questions panel and we will do a Q&A session at the end. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Kat, I know you're going to join us at the end again, so she's going to pop in and out.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn my camera off so Dawn and Adriano can start talking, but I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Awesome, thanks, Kat. So I'm going to turn my camera off too in a moment, but Dawn and Adriano, I was wondering, when was the last time you guys met face to face, or maybe the first time you guys met?
Yeah, so the last time was it was 2019 at the World Tour Toronto conference. So I've been attending that ever since I met Dawn back in 2016. So that was the last time I saw him, and the first time was back in 2016.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I met Adriano in Toronto too, because he came up and he described this kind of their mission, and we'll get Adriano to expand on it. And I was completely blown away that that this what this BlueDot was all about, and the fact that they had discovered FME, and they were in Toronto, so it's always good. It's a good feeling to have a Canadian company that does what BlueDot does. So so why don't you tell us a little bit about BlueDot and yourself and how you ended up there. It's really a fascinating story.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Adriano. I manage the data systems team at BlueDot, and I've been at BlueDot for over 7.5 years, and since the founding of the company, it was really centered around building an early warning system for infectious disease outbreaks, and we were building or incorporating a lot of different unique data sets, from raster imagery, a lot of geospatial data sets, in non-geospatial as well, and from unique different sources, and we were really looking for an enterprise kind of solution, for managing all of this different data coming through. And that's what kind of led us down the road of discovering FME and seeing how it could, potentially benefit us back all the way before, we were starting to use it. So, and a little bit more about BlueDot. So as we've been developing our early warning system, we've developed an array of products around preventing these infectious diseases, and so we track over 150 infectious diseases around the world and all over the world. So we're not limited to a very specific geography, and we leverage artificial intelligence for helping us to sift through all the noise in the data that's coming through. And FME has been a real key for our orchestrating all of these data workloads to kind of support our efforts under the hood, for our mission.
And where do you get the data from? Does it come from governments, or is it public data, or does it come from
So a few different sources. In terms of disease surveillance, we're pulling from government sources, media sources, media aggregators as well. So we're doing a lot of web scraping behind the scenes, kind of capturing all of this information, and that helps. We're using that information to understand disease activity around the world. But then we have a different side of it, which is actually the movement of people around the world. So we use a few different proprietary data sets that we purchased from our providers. So we have flight schedule data, which is all the flights going forward one whole year into the future, and that helps us to understand what potential routes people are going to be moving to. And then we have historical passenger data, which is what has happened in the past. So we're able to kind of combine these two data sets together to have kind of a global network of movement data to help us understand the movement of people. And then we also have the surveillance side of all these articles coming in to really understand where the diseases are. And by bringing in other data sets as well, we built models to help us understand importation and exportation of disease risk around the world.
And tell me a little bit about the the COVID-19 experience, because I mean, you've been doing this and then all of a sudden you must have alarm bells that go off when you start to see something like
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been doing this before. We just didn't start during. We've been trying to building this and having our products detecting early outbreaks. And before it hit the main news, we actually discovered. We had a job that's hitting different news sources and looking through that information. And that one of our FME jobs is the one that pulls that data actually was the one that it found that this unknown disease of cases in China that was appearing. And how that impacted the story of what we were doing is we needed to scale some of our data challenges, because when COVID hit the main news, there was a lot more articles being published, a lot more media attention, and that caused a spike in amount of data that was out there that we needed to ingest to ensure that we weren't missing anything. We were keeping ahead of the curve. So by leveraging FME, we leveraged the dynamic engines to help us scale up, to incorporate and not miss out on all this, and run more jobs concurrently, and even add more nodes to our server to help support the spike of content. So that was one thing that has changed. The other ways we've helped to, so from going to help preventing an infectious disease outbreak or detecting it, we're now in the middle of one, and we've had to support our clients on an ongoing basis with analyses. So we've been leveraging some of this movement data, anonymized movement data, to understand where diseases were going next into their particular use case as well.
Wow. So your infrastructure, is this cloud-based? Is what you guys have built?
Yeah, so going back, we started on premise back when we were first using FME, and this is what I think really drew us to it, that it was a product that you can use on premise as well as in the cloud. I think we knew we were moving to the cloud, but we weren't there yet. But we actually started using FME on premise. So we had our databases, our servers on premise, and then over the years we've been migrating to AWS on our data systems team here at BlueDot. And when we've done that, we've also migrated now FME server to be in AWS to support that, and that has allowed us to scale up a little bit. So I would say we have a hybrid deployments where we're able to leverage the cloud for a lot of big data jobs that we need to, leveraging some other compute that we need. And what's the beauty what I find of using FME in the cloud, we're able to kind of talk with our databases on premise still, as well as clouds, and with other data stores that clients may have that are not even within our ecosystem. So we're able to kind of communicate across other cloud platforms as well. So if a client's using Azure, we're able to write data there if we needed to, and be able to support different use cases. So FME has been really flexible for us in that regards of being able to be interoperable with different data stores.
So tell me a bit about the scalability. What Amazon services are you using to, because you're talking about dynamic engines, so that says to me that you're able to launch engines at will, bring them down at will. So since you're in the cloud, you must be doing some pretty fancy stuff back there.
Yeah, so with our deployments, we have FME server that is on a EC2 in AWS. They're called EC2 machines. So we have a node that we have FME server installed, and then we have additional machines where we have other nodes that are installed on. So when our queue actually it becomes more than our base capacity, that basically sends a message through the FME API to wake up the other machines and turn them on. And then that basically allows more engines to be available for us, so we can actually process more jobs in queue, so that are in the queue. So we could have let's say 2,000 jobs in the queue. When that happens, let's say that more machines would turn on, and then we could process that. So what's one benefit of this is we don't need to spend money on compute that we don't need. So we don't need to leave 4 or 5 machines up if we're not using them, if there's no jobs in there. So from a cost saving perspective, it's been great, but we also have that capacity to leverage more compute when we need it.
Yeah. No, that's great. And of course that fits really well with the whole point of dynamic engines. Yeah. So How big is, I'm curious, you guys are processing a lot of data and making a huge impact. How big is your team at BlueDot? Is it a huge team?
Yeah, so the data systems team is eight data engineers, including myself right now. So we're in terms of the entire size of the company, we're about 60, 65 people right now, and it's a unique group of individuals. We have we have data engineers, we have software developers, we have epidemiologists, we have clinicians, mathematicians. So we're kind of a group of different people that have come together to solve this problem, which is really been unique to not just have data engineers and tackling this, but a group of other expertise to help out. And also we have GIS experts as well on the team.
So really multidisciplinary. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the first project where you used FME and what that was about? I'm just curious about your growth of FME because I'm sure anyway, tell that story.
Yeah, so it started back in 2016, when we were using it. We were looking for a product for spatial data quality assurance. So it started in that geospatial world where we had a lot of different boundaries. As we're at BlueDot, we're worried about the spread of diseases. So we need to have boundaries for countries, provinces, and we're continually adding to these sources and ensuring that the boundaries are accurate. And we wanted to build some automated workflows for that. And that's where our original use case kind of started, was to do some geospatial QA in an automated fashion, right? So that was the original need.
Okay, interesting. And then you just added more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started there, and then speaking about how that's grown, we had so much success with it. We actually started implementing it with other projects. So we started implementing with user analytics for how people are using our products, our data governance workflow to understand all the data sets that we have. Even doing suggested disease events. So under the hood, a lot of data processing for our actual products have been, being leveraged by FME to run these jobs and leveraging FME automations to help orchestrate that as well. And as well as, processing, doing data ETL on some of these sources, because as I mentioned, we have so many unique data sources that we're bringing in, some, on a real-time basis, some different intervals, and we were able to kind of orchestrate and build upon what we've been doing with processing this data with FME. And going back to before that, why we ended up going down this road is we didn't have an enterprise kind of solution to keep track of all this. And maybe like some of people here, or started off using Windows Scheduler, running Python jobs, and we needed a more sophisticated way of keeping track of all of these different jobs and have permissions. And that's where we started using FME server to orchestrate and run these jobs.
So you mentioned Python there. So do you invoke Python from within FME?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, we leverage Python a lot in FME. So because we had a lot of Python code, we didn't want it to go to a waste. So what's nice about FME, you have a Python caller or Python creator that you can use within FME to actually run your Python scripts and connect it with your other workflows within FME, and and have and do whatever you need. So a lot of Python is leveraged within our jobs to process our data.
Okay. Any other things, like you must be doing a lot of statistical stuff? Are there any other, do you use R or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have within Python, generally we're not we don't have too many jobs that leverage R, but we're able to communicate asynchronously with other services that may be running it. So for example, within FME, we would send a message to the cloud, and that would invoke another function to start and actually maybe run some R or run another a function to process that, and kind of connect them together, which has been nice.
Yeah. And your clients, are they governments around the world, or who are your big clients?
Yeah, so we have a few. We're kind of a mix of businesses and government clients. So we have Air Canada as a client, Delta Airlines, health agencies as well. So other City of Chicago is one of our clients. So it's kind of a mix. We have a mix of government clients as well as business clients with with other private companies. So kind of supporting anyone that is really interested in infectious disease outbreak prevention. We were able to help support and happy to support that.
Okay. And when it comes to FME, what FME server, what features of it do you use the most? Is it the scheduler? Is it FME server apps? Is it automations or?
Yeah, so we were started with scheduler, but with the release, I think of automations, was it in correct me if I'm wrong, 2018?
Yeah, I think that was the one. Yeah.
2018? Yeah, so that's when I was really excited about that and kind of jumped on the bandwagon early on, because our workflows are pretty sophisticated and they were growing more and more complex. And
Yeah.
there was the opportunity with using FME automations to be able to simplify some of that and understand the connectivities and even connect that to other workbenches as well. So it was really nice, in terms of enterprise integration, to leverage FME automations to help with that.
Yeah. Did you ever try to do that with notifications and all subscribers and publishers?
Yeah, we did. Actually, we were using notification publishers before automations.
Yeah.
And it works great. I think what automation provided was that visual experience that I guess FME customers may be used to. And it's easier to build that out there in the same type of experience. So yeah, that we kind of migrated some of that to use automations from notifications and that event-based architecture. Yeah.
Yeah. They were tough to debug too when things went wrong, right? And in any development, things do go wrong while you're getting it working. And notifications, it was, yeah. I remember I used to always draw big pictures on pieces of paper, and so no.
Yeah, and if you're, if you're, let's say, another data engineer was looking at the work and trying to debug it, they may not understand all the components, but I think that's solved with FME automations. You're able to see all the connections between those workflows in a visual way, and you can even take it to a non technical person and show them the work that you've done, the complexity under the hood that you may not see if it's just either a Python script or or you just wouldn't be able to visually see that work out. Yeah.
Yeah. So has BlueDot, obviously COVID-19 is the big one that we're all worried about right now. Had you predicted other outbreaks before COVID-19?
Yeah, so we've published, BlueDot's done some other publications before COVID. We've there's yeah, we have other journals that we've using our travel data in the past, so we would be able to understand connectivity. It really gave us a global perspective of travel, and using this travel network of information, we've been able to make predictions with other diseases like chikungunya, to name one. But yeah, I'm definitely missing some for sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And when when you look at technology and where it is now, and where it's going, what are you most excited about, just from a pure technology standpoint?
Yeah, for me, what makes me excited, leveraging leveraging the cloud for data integration. I think the data is becoming more and more complex, larger in size, and to process everything, on premise may be hard. So with us, for example, there may be some specific data sets that may require big data solutions for. So leveraging the cloud, we're able to process that, all that information, and use the resources that we need, right? Instead of having to go to IT and ask them to purchase 100 servers and with a massive price tag to run one query, right? So we're able to leverage the cloud to solve a lot of our data challenges, and tying that in with FME, it really plays nicely with the cloud. There's a lot of connectors with AWS, running, even hitting specific services, which is awesome. So maybe you start and use AWS for, let's say AWS Athena for doing some big data queries, but you can actually trigger that in FME to run that, get that result, and pass it to your workflow. So yeah, that's one thing I think that's really cool that FME and Safe Software has been able to keep on top of being able to leverage these technologies to give users more use from their data.
So yeah, and certainly you guys have been an amazing partner from SAFE as well. I mean, when we were coming up with the concept of dynamic engines, BlueDot, you guys were always, at the forefront of that, because we understood a little bit about what you did, and we knew that you needed, elasticity. So and you guys have always been great partners. I mean, we would give you dynamic engines to test it, even though, and you guys were always gracious because you're running very serious applications here, but somehow you would find time to give us really great feedback as well.
Yeah.
So.
I appreciate that. And coming to, we were testing that, I think, a little bit earlier before it was released, and that was before the pandemic started. So it was nice to leverage it. It really came in handy, because what happened was we had a lot more jobs that were processing, for not all the time, but we would have very big spikes during the day. When COVID happened, there was more data to process, more usage analytics jobs to run. And by leveraging dynamic engines right at the time, I gotta thank Kat for supporting BlueDot and being there for us. Like, without me even having to ask SAFE for this, they kind of reached out and gave me some additional licenses to while the pandemic was slowly starting. So you guys, I feel like anticipated our needs, and I can't thank you enough for what you've been able to do for us.
Yeah, no, the feeling is mutual, and that's one of the things we just love is, we're getting a chance to work with leading, organizations like, BlueDot and yourself. What is your technical background?
Yeah, so I graduated with a master's in spatial analysis at Ryerson. So I come from that geospatial world. I was always interested in where, answering the where of questions, like where diseases are going, and so that's my technical training. Where I started, and a lot of my team comes from a geospatial background, because the problem that we're solving is related to diseases moving around the world, and having geospatial foundation geospatial data has been really key for us to being able to do what we do.
Yeah. No, that's great. So one of the things we're excited about at SAFE is this whole movement in the cloud to serverless architectures. Like AWS Fargate on Kubernetes. Had you guys looked at Kubernetes or Fargate or anything like? It sounds like your existing one, you spin up instances, and I'm just curious, A, have you looked at it, and B, I guess, what were the, as BlueDot looks down the future, what are some of the things that they are considering for their application?
Yeah, and I would say we haven't we haven't leveraged Kubernetes or Dockers for some of the automating some of this, but that's definitely on the roadmap. As our needs become solidified and more mature, we'll definitely be looking into building that out for server deployment to automatically create and launch more instances as needed. But we're not there like in right now, but definitely as a result of dynamic engines and seeing what we're doing, we realize that yes, this is valuable. We want to be able to scale up more and automate a lot of this, so it's definitely going to come in handy.
No, and you're processing a lot of data. How big, how large are some of the data sets here? Are they global data sets, or are they a bunch of regional ones? I'm just curious the amount of data.
Yeah, so in terms of our travel data, it's 4 billion anonymized travel itineraries a year. That's gigs of data, but we also have big anonymized mobile phone data, which is in the ranges of 55 compressed gigabytes a day. So we're looking at hundreds of terabytes a year. And other ones, it depends. Like, we have a breadth of different data sets that vary in sizes. Some are small. We might have raster imagery, which is multiple gigs per imagery as well. So and then other ones that may be smaller. So our challenges, I think, are very unique. It's not just one data set that's very large. It's a lot of different data sets that capture different metrics of or different variables of categories of data that we're incorporating, and tying that back to FME, it's able to work with all of these different types, which is really helpful for our case. Leveraging, you can read raster imagery right within FME, geospatial data as well, no problem. So that has kept us coming back to continuing with new use cases to leverage FME for some of the our projects.
And when you identify a new data source, are you able to specify how you would like the data, or are you kind of just at the mercy?
Oh, yeah, we're at the mercy, of what the source is, because if we're purchasing some data sets, or it might be coming through APIs. We don't have generally control over what sources, so we have to be, as data engineers, we have to adapt to our data sets and figure out how to blend it together and bring it to a common format to solve our data challenges.
And you mentioned that you're obviously in the back there, you have some big AI going on. What kind of AI tech are you using? Web services AIs? Are you using neural nets, or what kind of AI technology are you guys using?
So in terms of artificial intelligence, we're using in BlueDot's product. So we're leveraging NLP for understanding. So trying to find the signals in the noise of the data. So we would have, let's say, 100,000 articles coming through, and what AI allows us to do is one of the tools that we're using to be able to figure out what is actively an article is related to a disease event, or it's just spam. So we may have an article that comes through that says anthrax the band is touring around United States, right? And we don't want to pass that to our clinical team. We actually know that anthrax is a band, so our AI NLP algorithm is actually able to detect that it is not related to an infectious disease outbreak, and it's actually just spam. So we would filter that out and not be able to only pass relevant articles through to our clinicians that are our human eyes on some of this data to help contextualize it and before sending it to our platform, which our clients use.
I'm curious about you as a person, in the sense that you're doing this and then you see this pandemic developing before you even read about it, and I'm sure you guys know where things are going before it hits the news. I mean, how does that make you on an emotional level? How does that make you feel? Like, do you have moments of panic, or
Yeah, it's hard. You see these articles come through, and you're slowly seeing it spreading around the world, and you kind of feel a little powerless. Personally, I feel that it's this is going to have a big impact, and it's really it's really tough. And I think what we're trying to do is, by using our products, is trying to help people get ahead of this and be able to stop these pandemics, or at least have awareness and be able to react based on some of this information we're providing. So working at BlueDot, I feel, with knowing some of this information, I feel empowered to build the greatest product we can to be able to alert our clients, so that we're able to they're able to actually make decisions based on this.
And clearly BlueDot's not just worried about COVID-19. You're obviously looking for other things. So can you talk a little bit more about your early warning system and how does it work? And
Yeah, so how our early warning systems works is, it starts with hitting different government sources, media sources. So we're doing this web scraping to bring in hundreds of thousands of articles of all diseases. We're talking about COVID, dengue, chikungunya, all the infectious diseases that we know about. And from there, that's one component, and we're leveraging FME to actually orchestrate all of this web scraping. From there, then that data is sent through an FME job, leveraging SNS to a topic in AWS that would then trigger another service that would run the AI algorithm on those articles to help us classify, is this actually related to a disease outbreak, or is this, spam? And then we do other metrics, like we assign disease, we're able to find what the disease ID of it is, geographic location of interest, are these similar to other articles that we actually have found in the past? And we provide that information, and then that goes to our clinical team, which is able to see all this information instead of them having to go through 100,000 articles now. By leveraging AI, it's only a few hundred that might come through on a given day, and they're able to classify it into active events, or add it to an existing event, or create a new event if this is something we haven't seen before. And then from there, then we that information gets pushed to our insights product, which then our clients have access to, and that curtails risk to their specific infectious disease or their specific location, and they can actually only get notified based on specific diseases that they're interested in. So yeah, and also we have notifications. So if they're not even on the platform, they might get an email notification that there's been an update to a disease event that they're tracking, or there's something that they should know about.
Do you scan social media as well to look for anything?
No, not right now. We're nothing in production is using social media for that. It's just we've done we've looked at it in the past, just experimenting, but it's not a source that we found it's we can rely on. So we've been using more reliable sources that to help us with this.
Yeah. No. And you mentioned a lot of data cleaning and data massaging and Q&A and so what were some of the techniques you used to deal with that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of with data cleansing in FME. You have a lot of transformers, to help with that process. So we leverage some of those the tools out of the box. And then if let's say FME, we need something more, something more specialized, we may leverage Python, use a Python creator to bring in some Python code to then do a little bit more massaging on that information. So it's a mix of leveraging some tools in FME as well as some Python to help with that, and other unique libraries that we may need to bring in.
Yeah. So what, when you think about FME, you've been using it for a long time. Are there things that, oh man, you wish that it did, but it didn't do, or?
I was really excited. I think for a few years I was talking with hey Don, it would great to get dynamic engines. Like our data is growing in capacity, and we need to distribute it out amongst multiple machines to help process that. And I think that was like I was so happy when that was released, because it allowed us to design our workflows to be a little bit different, and it really helped us to make smaller workbenches and run more workbenches, but very not as many transformers in there, right? So it's easier to maintain and control. So for me, dynamic engines was definitely a great addition to the tool set, and automations has been also really wonderful. I think continuing to be compatible with different cloud services through adding additional connectors will be helpful for organizations being that are moving in the cloud or there already. I think will definitely be helpful.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get started with FME, what would you say is a great way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we have some new teammates joining our team, and the first thing I do is I say, Safe Software has great tutorials on their website. They can check them out. You got beginner, advanced courses, even the webinars to learn a little bit more as well. Like that, there's great fine product support. So that is a definite way to get involved and kind of get started. I started my own YouTube channel to help problems that I'm solving here. At BlueDot, I thought maybe other FME users would find this useful, so I've been posting some videos, YouTube videos there to help other FME users kind of get up and running with specific use cases.
Yeah, and they're fantastic. So Steph, if you could chat out that link to his.
I'll chat that out right now.
Yeah, to his YouTube channel. That's great. It's been floating around Safe, and I've watched a few of them, and it's really amazing that that you do that. We really appreciate. That's just an example of what a great customer that in partner really that you've been and BlueDot as well. So yeah. So if there's if you had to name 3 transformers that you're really that are your key ones, what would they be?
Yeah. Oh well. Attribute manager is kind of like the Swiss Army knife for kind of data ETL. You're able to remove a lot of unwanted, variables or columns, do other transformations.
Yeah.
Tester is also a great one. The feature joiner, that's one I really like. That's definitely very, very common as well, because it allows you to join different data sets together and merge, and it does it in like a SQL way, doing an inner join, outer join, left, right, having that type of functionality, which might be helpful for your users that might be coming from that SQL world and used to that type of understanding of doing joins.
Yeah. And a favorite format, is it XML?
I knew you would ask that, Don. It's not. Yeah, no, favorite format. That's hard. That's a really hard one.
You have one where
we're using a lot of JSON.
Format you kind of cringe a little bit and.
Oh, cringe. I can't name one off the top of my head, but yeah, I can't. I don't want to give them a bad name.
Say XML.
Yeah, I actually wanted to say that, but I didn't want to offend Don here. So.
Yeah, that's so funny. XML's the good and the bad, eh? Yeah. So, no. So when you arrived at BlueDot, were you there during when you kind of just sort of formulating the mission of the company and?
Yeah, so when I joined BlueDot, we were still a research group at the time. We were still running on grants, and we were still, working on the concept of building this early warning system. And so we were, still formulating that. We were focusing around one product, and we had this product called Explorer that we were building, and it was kind of like a general GIS tool that you could make decisions based. So the image you have on the screen is kind of a view of what that is. So it brings in your travel data, and you can do custom analysis based on some of the data that we brought in, and do some specific use cases for what you may have related to infectious disease analyses. And at the time we were kind of expanding. We realized like, well, what we're doing is applicable to many different products, and we needed to build a platform to be able to support not one product but multiple. And that's where we started our data warehouse. And then from there we said, hey, you know what, we need an enterprise grade system to help integrate all these different data sets. Our needs are growing. We're stocking the shelves with all these different data sets to build these complex models. And that's where FME kind of came in after that to help orchestrate all these unique data sets that we were bringing in, and do these heavy compute on our data sets to then push it to our product. So our team does a lot of processing of that data before it goes, before we ship it to our other product team, which then that goes to our products.
Yeah. So with the work that BlueDot's done, and with COVID and other things, it must be a super exciting time to be there. I'm sure, you've been in many different articles. I think you were featured in Wired magazine as well, and yeah.
Yeah, it's there's been a lot of awareness. We've been doing this for a long time, and trying to have people aware of what's happening, of the threat of infectious diseases, and to be in a mode. I think there's just a lot more eyes and people that are seeing what we're doing, and the value of being able to detect infectious disease outbreaks, and why it's actually valuable to have insights on these. So I think it's brought a lot of awareness to the ongoing risk that we are, as as globalization, the world's becoming a lot smaller. Travel has increased year after year, and there's a movement of animals where with humans are becoming located closer, and the risk of infectious diseases have increased. So being involved, I feel it's been really challenging, and we want to be able to help as many clients as possible. So there's definitely, I think, we put some pressure to be able to help and deliver and support as best as we can.
Okay, great. And I'm sitting in an office, and this printer never ever prints anything, and so now it is. So, but I think Kat has some questions from the audience. So do you want to read some of those, Kat?
Absolutely. And I'll just point out that I did send one of the articles that BlueDot was featured into my mom, and she's like, "Your product can do that?" So it was one of her light bulb moments. I think she was still struggling on what FME does or what I did for a living. So thank you, Adriano. You helped my mother.
My pleasure.
So you've touched on this a little bit already, but I have a question that says, my team does a lot of data processing using Python. It works great, and we can build out our data sets, but quite a bit of the time to modify the code base when the priorities change. So what is your experience of moving from Python from Python-based data processing to something like FME? Does it benefit the speed of your development? Your cycles? How'd that work for you?
Yeah, I would say it has definitely accelerated the speed of our development of our workflows. Because if you bring in another team member to help support it, I find when you're coding in Python or any coding language, it may take some time to really understand the components, how it is tied together. But with FME, you have a visual workbench, and you're really able to understand what's going on, how the data flows from start to finish, and it comes together very quickly of like understanding it. So I feel like it's easier to kind of jump and get involved with and helping each other out and kind of working together as a solution. And as a team, we've developed some of our own internal processes that you may have a teammate work on it on a workbench and then pass that off to another team member to review it, provide some feedback, and we kind of similar to like a code review you might do in Python, and that's been really helpful to ensure we have high quality processes within our FME workbenches.
Awesome. Well, this one isn't a question, but it actually comes from a safer, and it says, Adriano is great.
Oh, thank you very much.
Here's a question for you. So you use FME to massage the data. What do you use to visualize the data?
Oh, that's a great question. So with our data is visualized through our products. So our Insights platform, it's like a front-end web application that our clients would be able to go to and understand that. So for visualization then in the end product, our products are like the visualization tool. We also use we use a different various different tools like Power in terms of visualization. We use Chartio, which is kind of like a Tableau or Power BI to create dashboards. If you want like a business intelligence tool, we leverage that as well. But with what's nice with FME, we can really push it to any way we want. We also use ArcGIS. Data might be turned into maps or story maps through ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Portal. So that's another way of visualizing it if it's geospatial.
Awesome, great. So do you go with SOAP or RESTful APIs or fast APIs or both, or what kind of APIs do you like to use?
Yeah, we've been using a lot of REST APIs for a lot of our work, and we find a lot of the sources of data we're integrating may come from REST APIs. So that's definitely one. And within FME, we're able to read that with an HTTP caller, right? We're able to pull that in and pull the data we need and do some additional ETL with that. So that's definitely one standard we've been heavily using.
Awesome. So I got some pretty technical questions that I literally don't know what they mean. So since you use AWS, do you use SageMaker MLOps and GLU or model deployment?
No,
Did any of those words mean anything?
Yeah. Those are AWS related services for machine learning. We built our own, within some Python frameworks and deployed it. We're basically running this on EC2 machines, but we're not using a managed AWS service right now. In the future, we may be investigating that further of when we improve our workflows, as we always are.
Mm-hmm. And how about oh, go ahead. I was just going to say about climate, or do you look at climate or weather data as your to overlay on all this stuff?
Yeah, so some of our we create some indices with like vulnerability of subnational populations, and part of that of building some of these indexes, we leverage climate data, so weather, different satellite imagery, which might create level 3 products. So it could be precipitation, humidity, temperature, even like rasters of like population density. So we're able to, actually leverage FME to bring all of these different types of data sets in, process it, do some clipping, even reprojecting, and then be able to push it to a model to, do it down the streams, bring it into a format that we could leverage with non-geospatial data as well. So yeah, in terms of our climate, and why do we, why do we care about climate data? Because there's, specific mosquitoes that with temperature, they may be actually able to go farther north in the world, right? So we want to understand the context of where mosquito habitat may be, so we can know if it's vulnerable to malaria or dengue, for example.
Wow. Wow. So climate change, then, is that something you are doing models to predict how disease will move in the future? Some projects we look at, we incorporate that into it, or we might use some other, companies work on climate change models. So, but again, bringing that back to FME, we can read this into ourselves, within our FME program, and be able to blend those together. But we're not building our own, climate change. Like, we're really focused on infectious disease related work. So we like to leave that to some of the for other research groups or organizations that are focused for climate change related work.
Yeah. What would you say is probably what maybe people would think is the weirdest data set you pull in, that maybe, we expect you to pull in disease data and weather data kind of makes sense, but what's kind of a weird one that you think people would be like, wow, you pull that in, that's weird?
Weird one. Ooh.
That's me. I asked that question.
Yeah, there's different metrics that weird ones, but you might be like, let's say we pulled in data about earthquakes or conflict zones, and you're like, well, how is that related to infectious diseases? But there may be small components for instability, and so sometimes, if we're bringing in all these different data sets that might have some, be able to help predict or create indexes for vulnerability. So yeah, I would say something like, yeah, that might be one. If you look at the bigger picture, it's not, not directly related to infectious diseases. Yeah.
No, we have a really technical one here about R, so I'll throw it at you and see. And it says, can you give an example of how you exposed a shared dimension in your data warehouse data, and did you use R for this? Oh wow, somebody likes that one.
Yeah, we haven't used R. I don't know how to answer that question very well, but we've been leveraging my team anyways, like Python, for a lot of our related work.
No. Good. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, Adriano, and really appreciate it. So if people want to reach out to you, would you suggest LinkedIn? Like, you're on LinkedIn, so.
Yeah, reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to have a conversation with anyone that wants to reach out. If you want to follow me on YouTube, Data Engine Uncomplicated, happy to have a conversation there as well. But yeah, always happy to meet with people and discuss data integration.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess one last question, as far as technology that looking forward that you're most excited about, what would that be?
Yeah, in terms of technology, with, as I mentioned, moving to the cloud, with AWS, for me, something I'm very passionate about, and continuing to leverage all these services. And I find with FME, it's one way of kind of being able to leverage them all together and be able to create unique offerings. So combining some are always interesting for me. Yeah.
No, great. And so I think this has been just fantastic, and really appreciate you being, taking time to meet with us. You're
my pleasure.
Nobody likes to be the first, but you were the first in this time, and really appreciate it. It's been so great working with you over the years, and obviously we hope we continue to work with you as the future unfolds for all of us. So
yeah, thank you. And I have to say, it's really been a joy to work with Safe Software for our needs. You guys have really been there for us, and I've always felt supported by Kat. Hey, Kat. She's been wonderful for meeting our needs, and having Don even like called me a few times to talk through my use cases and how Safe could help. So I really felt great customer support. So I just want to thank you guys for all you've done over the years, and been there for us to help us move forward with our mission.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's our pleasure. So what happens now, Steph?
So I think with that, I will probably, we can turn off our webcams and I'll leave the webinar running for like a couple other minutes in case people have last questions. But
Okay.
I'm going to say thank you too for being our first interview. The feedback and comments that we got from people throughout was so positive. People really enjoyed it. So I think this might be something we have to do more of. And it was just amazing to hear about all the things you're doing. I have to say, Adriana, we picked a stellar first guest. You are.
Oh no.
It's going to be hard to.
You guys are too kind.
No,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess in a pandemic world, mask up and stay safe. Thank you,
Yes.
Stan.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kat.
Yeah,
And
thanks for
everybody
having me.
It was a lot
Bye
of fun.
from me and Griffey. Sorry about that, guys.
Take care. Yeah,
Sounds
bye-bye.
German Shepherd. Thank you, guys. See you later.